We out here, this is the come up. We talk about success in the real, the raw, the nitty, the gritty, no sugarcoat. Today I have Nate Jackson. I'm so excited to have Nate. I'm so excited that you're here in Oregon and Eugene in general.
Oh, really?
When I met you, and then we met at Riverfront.
Yeah, Simone.
And everybody's like, oh, Nate Jackson's obviously the person you want to book. Mm-hmm. And I met you, and, you started to tell me a little bit about your story, and I was like, what is he doing here? Yeah. And I just, Googled you.
Oh, starter.
Stalked you. Starter. I'm, reading about you, and you have a really interesting path, an interesting story. So can you go into, I know you went to U of O.
Yes, go Dogs.
Go Dogs. You know. I'm a U of O alumni too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You didn't? I have a Spanish degree. A degree in Spanish.
You speak Spanish?
I do. I do too. I know. I stalked you on the internet.
Oh, no. Well, no, let's do this interview in Spanish.
Oh, no. So you started at U of O, but you were not into entertainment. That was not something you saw for yourself.
No, and it's weird. Life is funny because, there's scripture in the Bible. I wrote with Jesus.
Yeah.
And there's a scripture in the Bible that says, a man's heart plans his path, but it's the Lord who directs his steps.
Yeah.
So in my own life, I had a plan, and entertainment was never the plan. And I started out in college. I was going to be a psychologist. I was going to solve problems.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. And the first day of school, of class, the professor said right away, he goes, welcome to Psychology 101, and I'm excited to teach you, but before I teach you, I want to let everyone know this. Psychologists typically don't make much money if they go into the business. And I said, huh? And then he said, if you go into your own business, then you have a chance. But if you're trying to be a psychologist for the state or something, you're probably not going to make much money. Second he said that, I said, okay, I'm out.
That's day one.
Yeah, day one.
Oh my God.
So I was like, I'm out. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
So there went the psychology dream. That was my plan. And I didn't know what else I was going to do. And then I got into business. And I was like, I can be a businessman. And listen, if you don't have the gift of business, stay away from it.
Yeah.
Stay away. They talk about numbers and econ and math. And I said, what am I doing here?
My business minor brought my entire GPA way down.
It's so hard.
So difficult.
Why they make it so hard? Man. You don't want to imagine being in that dang class.
Right.
And anyway, so I tried business, and I sat there, and I quickly learned that wasn't for me. So here I am in college, I was probably a sophomore in college, a junior in college, and I had no idea what I was going to do. And this girl, we were sitting in class together. I was in a theater class. By the way, that was different because people were wearing capes and pretending to sword fight with no swords, and I was like, what?
Right.
What? Listen, no disrespect to anyone who does that, but to me, I couldn't roll with them either.
You couldn't do it.
Yeah. So this girl in acting class, her name was Jocelyn, and she sat next to me, and the teacher's talking, and Jocelyn goes, "Hey, me," and I said, "What's up?" And she said, "Are you going?" I said, "Going where? To a party?"
Yeah.
And then she secretly passes me this little piece of paper. Said, "Read it." And I picked it up. The paper said, "Duck U TV, University of Oregon's first campus TV show.
Wow.
Auditions are today, or are next week or something." And I said, well, I guess I'll go. Are you going to go? She's like, yeah, and I think you should go. You'll be great at it. And I was like, all right. And again, I had no desire for entertainment. That was never my thing. So I get to this audition, and there's hundreds. It felt like hundreds. It was probably maybe 200 people there all. But it just felt like so many people. And, they were all reading a script, and, they were going over their lines. And I said, so what do we do?
Right.
And they said, you just go wait in this line, grab these pieces of paper, and they're going to have you read it in front of a camera. And what I couldn't understand, Vanessa, is while people were trying to memorize their lines, they were sitting next to tons of other people talking out loud. You can't really process lines like that.
Right.
So I'm going in the bathroom. I said, well, what number am I? He said, you're number 60. I was like, well, shoot, I have time.
Yeah.
So I went in the bathroom, and I was going over my lines, just trying to get it. And finally they called my name, and then I'm going to run out there. And, there was this intimidating group of students, juniors and seniors in college. And they're staring at you, and and they're waiting for you. And there's a couple of grown-up teachers and professors, and they're like, "Okay, what do you have to offer?" say your lines.
Yeah.
And I said my lines, Vanessa, and I bombed it. I was so terrible, and I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed in myself. And then I got a call back.
Yes.
And not only did I get a call back, they said you were by far the best one. And I said, really? Because in my mind, I thought I bombed it. And then they said, hey, we want you to do a show where you're going to go around campus interviewing people. We have no vision yet, but you can make it your own.
Wow.
And then that began the beginning of my entertainment career. It was an unexpected path.
Yeah. Okay, so I love moments like that. I love the moment of Jocelyn handing you the paper. And I
love how you just say the name like you know her. You don't know
But like to me, those are like, that's like God intervention, universe intervention, being like, you think you're about to do this, but like, I'm gonna show you where you're going. Like, can you talk about moments like that in life where it's like, you don't like the trust you have to have. You don't know where it's going. You don't know what it means, but it's like, you know that you should take that step.
I'll say when I graduated college, my goal was to become a TV news reporter.
So at this point, you were like, okay, this is for me. So you did the duck show.
Oh, sorry.
And you're like, this is what I'm going to do now.
Yeah, well, so the problem is I did the Duck U campus TV show.
Yeah.
And I did really well.
Uh-huh.
And around campus, I created different shows. And,
yeah.
And each show I created was a hit. And there seemed to be a buzz going around like, hey, this Nate Jackson guy is pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
He's pretty good. And everyone said, you should go into entertainment. And I said, no, are you crazy? People who go into entertainment, the odds of them making it so slim.
Yeah.
And they're going to be broke. No, I said, no, let me take the safe path. And I took the safe path, and I applied for a TV news reporter position.
Wow. Where at?
At NBC in Yakima.
Mm-hmm. Yakima, Washington?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, when you're a news reporter, you have to start out small. You have to start out at the little...
Totally.
At the small town.
Yeah.
You know, I got there, and it felt good, and everything about it was not me. But I tried to fake it until I made it.
Yeah.
You know? So I tried to be serious. Today, you're here with Nate Jackson here. And I had a friend who would just laugh every time he saw my videos because he said, that's not you. But it's the safe me. So I would go out and, do these stories covering murders, robbings and all that. And my soul felt empty every single time.
Yeah.
And this one time I went to, in the beginning for news reporters, there's always these meetings and you say, okay, so what are you going to cover today? Anyone with story ideas?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh, there's a robbery at this 7-Eleven down the street. I want to cover it.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's also this murder, blah, blah here. And I said, well, there's a country fair that's going to have a lot of pigs and all. I would love to cover the fun stuff.
Right.
I would try to cover these fun type of activities. And the news director was like, you're going to cover a different murder. Thank you anyway. A drought or something. And I wasn't going to leave. I was going to stay in there. And one day I was 3 months in and I hadn't smiled for 3 months because it's just so stressful.
Oh my God.
And
I can't picture that for you.
Yeah, man, it was not me. If you think that you are going to, again, we're going back to the theme.
Yeah.
I was saying, a man's heart plans his path, but it's the Lord who directs his steps.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I refused to go to entertainment. And then it was like, this is where I feel like the divine intervention came in.
Okay.
And it won't seem like it at first, but follow me.
Okay.
One of the producers made a mistake. I got the blame for it.
Okay.
Because I was a new guy. They were like, well, then the news director was like, well, this producer's been here for years, and you've been here for 3 months. We haven't seen this before, so it's your fault. And I was like, no, but I didn't do it.
Right.
The director sat down with me and said, okay, if you just confess to this, and you just say he did it, and we'll just move on and keep going. I will not.
Yeah.
Admit something I didn't do.
For real. How awful of them to ask you to do that.
But
I'm sure, it happens all the time in entertainment.
Yeah, well, of course. But I know, you got to have some type of integrity.
Yeah, integrity.
Yeah. So I said, no, I didn't do it. So then the director said, okay, well, then I'm going to let you out of your contract. And Vanessa, I was so heartbroken. And by the way, in entertainment, when you get in entertainment or news, although it's a different type of forms, but
right.
it follows along the same track. Mm-hmm. But, there's going to be some heartbreaks. I was so heartbroken because I was essentially being fired for something I didn't do.
Right.
And I remember, because I didn't have a car yet, because I'd just been up there only 3 months. My parents, they drove up. This was in Washington State, so I'm from Oregon. So, Portland. So they drove up and they got me, and I was just sitting in the car. And I tell you, there's a song I don't want to sing it because you probably don't have copyright. If you had a bad day, you can turn it around and go something. But the song was about, if you had a bad day. And it was the first song I was like, oh, I didn't have a bad day. I don't like sob it, or like not sobbing in front of people, but just in my own heart.
Yeah.
I'm like, I worked so hard for this.
Right.
And to see it just crumble just so fast, and I was so heartbroken.
Right.
I was literally heartbroken. In entertainment, you're going to have some heartbreaks.
Yeah, more than you're going to have not.
Yes. You plan on getting entertainment or any type of medium that deals with presenting and production. You better just set your heart on. I don't want to say set your heart on getting heartbroken because that's a negative mindset.
Right.
But you got to be okay with pivoting.
Yeah, and being rejected and being like okay with it.
And rejection comes a lot.
Yeah.
But then here comes the divine moment. So, and I feel maybe God allowed that to happen. I say, forget it. I'm just going to go to LA. I'm just going to go. Sometimes you got to step out in faith.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to say, hey, you know what? What do I have to lose? And I just went to LA and I had a duffel bag and that was it. And
you have the classic story?
Yeah.
In your bag, you just went.
Yeah, it was one bag, or I didn't take the train or hitchhike. I definitely flew.
Yeah.
Sure. Definitely. Delta hooked me up. But I didn't have much money.
Right.
Because I was freshly graduated from college and I was a news reporter for 3 months, so I didn't have much money.
Right.
But the money I had, I went to LA and stayed with a friend. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a job yet. I just went, and I don't recommend, listen, plan. You have to plan.
Yeah.
Try to plan as much as you can.
Did you plan? You didn't plan.
I don't remember. I was just thinking about and they'll talk. Did I plan? Oh, but I'm sure I would have had some sort of plan. And then when I got to LA, I was looking for jobs and doing all that. But here comes that divine providence. My friend gives me a call because I didn't have internet and I didn't have TV.
Right.
My friend was like, here's a couch. Good luck.
Yeah.
And my friend said, I'm off to work. And my friend said, Nate, I saw on the news that the Tonight Show, which is like a national TV show.
We not the Tonight Show. No. Yeah.
You're older, and so am I.
Yeah.
If you are like under 21, you may not watch TV.
Right.
And it's all phone.
That's true.
So I have to preface that, but But it was a show. There was a national show called the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and then my friend said, Nate, I just saw on the news the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. They're having a national competition. You should apply. And I said, really? Again, even if you don't have the resources, the good Lord open up the door and make sure you know about it. So I have one VHS tape. It was the transition from VHS to DVD. It was around that era. I'm old. But I had one, I just brought an emergency VHS tape that had highlights of everything that I had done for that campus TV show in college. It was my only one. It was the only tape I had. And my friend said, you should apply. So I remember looking at the tape and I was like, this is all I have. I have nothing else.
Right.
And I went to the post office and I mailed it,
So you snail mailed it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you got back then.
Right.
2006.
There was no drop box. Wow.
I didn't hear anything. I forgot about it. And like a month later, a producer from the Tonight Show was like, we just looked at your tape and we like you. I was like, what? And then it said, we're going to move you on to the next round. This is a national search. We're looking for someone to be a reporter for Jay Leno, the host, and it's a national search, and we like you. So then they said, we're going to put this online, and we're going to have people vote. So
wow.
And they put me online with like 50 other people, and then each week it was like a reality show almost. Each week they were dwindling it down. I kept making the top.
Yeah,
I was amongst the top, and then finally they didn't pick one; they just picked the top 3.
Okay.
And they called me and they were like, "Can you come down to Burbank Studios in California?"
Wow.
And I said, "That's right up the street. I'm here in LA. Yeah." But I didn't have a car.
Right. So what did you get on the bus?
Yeah. So in LA, the transportation is different. A bus in Eugene, Oregon, where we are, you can get anywhere in 30 minutes. I imagine. But in LA, going from Venice.
Oh,
yeah. Going from Venice up to Burbank, that's going to be at least a 2-hour bus ride.
Yes.
I put that $1.25 in the bus, and I said, I'll be there. And I was on the bus for 2 hours. And I got there, and by the way, the lady was like, "Oh, you could have just let us know. We could have had a car pick you up." I was like, "I'm sweating." Anyway, I got there, and I see NBC Studios, and it's like a dream because I grew up watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which came on NBC, and I saw the little peacock, and then I saw Jay Leno's fancy car, and I was like, "I cannot believe I'm here." And then I meet all these producers and all that, and then I'm in a dressing room. Jay Leno knocks on my door. He's like, "Hey, I just want to introduce myself to Jay Leno." And I was like, it was the first time I was starstruck. I was like, "Oh, yeah." Well, you try to play it cool. I was like, "What's going on, man? What's going on?" But man, and he had the bluest eyes I've ever seen. I was like, "Oh, yeah, beautiful." I didn't say that, but it's like it was like this dream was about to come true. This was the evidence of divine providence of the Lord stepping in. And then they said, "Okay, so we're going to have you on stage, and you're just going to talk." I said, "Oh my!"
You brought on stage that?
Yeah, I stood next to Jay Leno.
Wow!
And I just remember thinking, like, "Wow, this is crazy." And then the guy behind the camera was like, "All right, you 3, 2, 1, you're on, Jay." And then Jay Leno starts talking, and then he kicks it to me, and then I just black out, and then I just hit that zone. Because you can't be afraid of the moment. You have to attack the moment.
Yeah.
And what happens is when people get on stages, when people get in front of crowds, they start to look at the crowd and they start to forget about their ability. But I do the opposite. I think about my ability and I forget about the crowd. So when I black out, when I zone out, I'm just in it. The studio audience laughing and Jay Leno's laughing, and I'm like, this is crazy. My friends are, writing me on Facebook. Do people still use Facebook? I mean, I do.
Yeah, they do. Okay. People do.
Okay.
Yes.
Look at it. But my friends have hit me up on Facebook. "I'm on see you on a Tonight Show. This is crazy." And Jay Leno was laughing, and everyone's laughing. You're it. No, this is it. I just said to myself, "Thank you, Lord." I cannot believe that check this out. The new station that I worked for in Yakima was NBC. So when they fired me, so to say, 3 months later, what you don't know is when the news isn't on, they have NBC on TVs everywhere, promotions, commercials on. So they would have had to see me.
They saw you.
Like the national spotlight commercial airing at their own station. You fired me or let me out of my contract, but then the Lord said, "Don't worry, I'm going to use this for good." And then now I'm on a national TV show. It's like, well, you didn't want me, Yakima. Well, guess the country wanted me as far as NBC goes. So
yeah. And I think that's we talked about this with Lise when she was on, like the importance of like understanding who you are and your authenticity in this, like if you don't follow that because you're like, I was miserable, I hadn't smiled in 3 months.
Yeah.
But the intervention is when you don't follow that, it's rugged. Like the universe will break you apart so that you can have that opportunity. And then it's really up to you to just be like, I'm moving to LA and take advantage of it. But like, if you don't follow that, like the path gets a little bit wild. And it's just like, it's a constant process of learning how to listen to that voice inside yourself when it's not working for you.
Well, then what about you? What got you into dancing? Because you're dance choreographer, dance business owner, and all that. What about your rough patches?
Oh, man. I mean, I think I've been dancing my whole life. So my story is like, I've always knew that I was going to dance, like from a little baby. You know what I'm saying? And my rough patches have very much been, I would say, allowing external influence to take me off my path.
Like what or who?
Relationships.
Boyfriends.
Or husband.
Oh, husband, man.
Yeah, that'll do it. And just, I would say, like you kind of said it, like my ability. Understand, like I think that came to me later in life, which is like, for me, that was the universe's gift. Like I had to get to a certain place of understanding myself before I was able to like really understand my ability. And I feel like that's like a superpower for me as a parent, especially.
Oh, I always forget you have.
I have 2 kids. I have teenagers right now.
I always forget because you're in such great shape. You look young and old. That's what's getting here. Oh, that's the same age. I know. Yeah, I'm 21. How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 18. But yeah, I would say, and that's why I want to have these conversations, because staying on the path is hard. And even if you're like really clear on what that is, but I think a common thing that comes up for people is like knowing yourself, knowing your authenticity, and knowing when to listen.
Yeah. Listen to what though?
Listen. Well, for me, it's God, universe. Like the whisper. It's the stuff that happens in the whisper. It's like, you get the feeling I shouldn't be doing that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This doesn't make me happy. And it's like, we tend to do what we think we're supposed to do in a worldly sense. But it's like when the calling becomes so loud and you don't want to listen to it, then again, you get the intervention happens. So it's like a process of learning how to listen quicker.
Yeah.
And that's a common thread when I talk to people. And I want people that are younger to like start to understand their own inner wisdom.
And I think that sacrifice is okay.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about sacrificing a baby or anything like that. I'm just talking about,
to be clear.
But sacrifice, it's okay. And I think that a lot of people are afraid to sacrifice, or people pursue money. And it's listen, I can tell you this. Money does not make you happy. Well, when I got into the full throttle of my entertainment career and I was making a lot of money, ironically, that I was probably the most unhappy I had ever been. So money doesn't make you happy, and things don't make you happy because you get used to the car, like a nice car. You get used to the nice house, and then your eyes get set on other things.
Right.
So it's for people to pursue money versus their talent, their passion, and their vision. It is a great misfortune for the world, because the world deserves your talent. They deserve your ability.
Right. And
you're robbing the world of that just because you wanted to pursue money. And one could say, well, Nate, is it bad to have money? No, it's not bad to have money. Who doesn't want money?
Right.
You know, I need to pay for the house. I need to pay for my car. I need to pay for some things.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Well, balance is everything. So you could pursue a career that pays, but you can also pursue a career that also affords for your natural God-given ability or talent.
Right.
At the same time, I've seen too many people throughout my life not pursue things because they were afraid. They didn't want to jump into entertainment, or they didn't want to try to own their own business. They didn't want to try.
Yeah.
That bothers me in so many ways, because it's like, you got to at least try. I mean, look, you're not going to die, you know.
Yes. Right.
Try it, and then if it doesn't work, you can regroup and pivot again. But it's just like, you got to listen. We are not going to be here for long.
It's so fast.
And you know, when you talk to anyone who's 60, 70 years old, they always say, it's gone by fast.
Yes.
It's gone by so fast. So it's like, man, all the money that you could make, all the cars that you could possess, that's going to still be here when you're gone. So why not leave a legacy? Let people remember that my grandpa was influenced by this one guy or this one girl who made a difference in their life. That can pass on.
Right. And so I guess I'll ask you this now. With that said, like, what is your definition of being successful? Like, what does that look like to you? Because right now you went midpoint in your career. You just went to like this jump off moment. And I know there's so much more. But like, where do you see yourself now? Like, what is your definition of success? And is it different from when you were at that moment? Just, you know, I've gotten that opportunity and you're like looking forward, you know?
Impact. What impact are you making on this world? It doesn't have to be a mass amount of people. It doesn't have to be 1 million people. But when we look at what you're doing, dance choreographer, instructor, owner,
right,
everything, dancer, I mean, everything you do. What I love about you and your purpose is you impact so many students who are so passionate and don't have an avenue to dance. I was actually just talking to my wife about this before I got here today. I said, you should see this, just the way all these young people, they put so much fervor to their dance. And I mean, you would think that they just became the best dancers in the entire world because they believe it. That's good.
Yeah.
Belief is good.
Yeah.
But you are impacting people beyond measures that you can know. I know you're aware that you're impacting people, but you have no idea like the depths of that impact for all these young people. And then on top of that, the people who are watching these young people are proud about it.
Right.
And so you are having an impact. So I would classify that as success. Versus you could have somebody who maybe they're just making a ton of money, and they are accumulating houses, and they're accumulating, but they're not allowing people to stay in their house. They're accumulating cars, but they're not allowing people to borrow the car.
Right.
And it's just trophies. There's no impact. Is it bad? Is it a sin to do that? I mean, maybe you should be the judge of it. You know, any listener listening, maybe you should be the judge, and just. That to me is not success. And I know people that have a lot of money and have a lot of cars. And I'll let you know. They are miserably unhappy. And I just had this conversation a few months back with a friend of mine, and I said, look, you have all this money, but listen to you. You know, you're miserable. And I said, the reason why you're miserable is because you are not making an impact. So going back to your question, what do you define as success?
Yeah.
I personally define success as one who can make an impact, whether it's for the world or for their neighbor next door.
Right.
Do something and help somebody. Make a change in someone's life. Speak words of positivity in people's life. You know, there's all types of things that you can do to make an impact. You see that person on the street and they're holding a sign saying, I need food. And you say, maybe they need it for drugs. Right. So I won't give.
Right.
Well, what's $2 to you? Person with money? Give them the money. If they use it for drugs, then that's not your decision. That's their decision. But they say they need it for food. Maybe they actually need it for food.
Right. Who are you to judge?
Yeah. So what impact are you making?
Do you think, was that your mindset when you were first at the Tonight Show? Like bringing it back, like when you had that first taste of like what most people would be, that's like a defining success moment in the physical world. Was that what your mindset was at that point, or is that something that you have learned through experience?
No, definitely. I definitely knew that was success. When you are pursuing TV, at least back then, the goal was to get to national, and it takes years to get to national and all that. So that was the goal. So if you can get on the national stage, that's a big deal. And I was very well aware of it because my friends were sending me messages. Remember, I was living in LA, but my friends from Portland, and because I'm from Portland, and from Eugene, where I went to school, they were sending me messages saying, "You're on the news, you're on the radio, everyone's talking about you." And then professors, a couple professors, journalism professors from the J School and University of Oregon. They messaged me and say, like everyone wants to be like you right now. They're all aspiring to do what you're doing. So I was obviously aware of success, but I think at the time, for many years, I had tunnel vision. So I knew that I was successful, but I felt like if I stopped to breathe in that success, then I'm missing opportunities to become more successful.
Yes, I feel like that's happened to me many a times. Like you just kind of get in this mode of doing. And it's also like you don't smell the roses too. Like you're not enjoying as much as you could. And it's just kind of like counterproductive to your soul. Yeah. Maybe not counterproductive to what you're doing, but like to your being. So, and that's where I feel like you can get caught up in like the unhappiness. Like, regardless of what's going on.
Because you're not celebrating the moments.
Yeah.
I celebrate some moments.
Yeah. I feel like I didn't learn that until in my 30s.
Yeah, I'd learned that to about 2 years, maybe last year.
Yeah.
You know, it's I never stopped. And so then this night show ended. And then there was another national competition for the Travel Channel.
Okay.
And I submitted. By this point, I had stocked up on old videos and all that, and I submitted a video, and then I was one of the winners for that too. I was like, oh, this is crazy. This is crazy.
So then you did that.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, it was just like a one show thingy. But, but I still can say I was on the Travel Channel.
Right.
You know, and again, I didn't celebrate the win. I was like,
just did it.
On to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one. There was about a year that went by where it was quiet. There was nothing happening. And when you pursue entertainment, you can't work a career job. You have to work a part-time job in LA.
Yes.
Because you might get a call for an audition at any time.
Yeah.
So I was working at Best Buy and I was cleaning TVs. I'm a college graduate.
Yeah.
I was working at Best Buy.
Right.
Cleaning TVs.
Right. Making
$10.15 an hour or whatever the heck it was.
Right.
And the whole time I had to fight against that voice that said, that voice of pride that would say, what are you doing working here?
Right.
You're better than this. You're better than this. But it's hard to fight against that because when you know what you're capable of, it is very hard to maintain a sense of monotony. It is hard when you know what you can do. And
it's like speaking to me right now.
Talk about it.
Oh, I'm just saying.
I like to speak to you right now.
We're in Eugene, Oregon. Mm-hmm. So like we talk about this a lot. Me and my students.
Okay.
Because the monotony and also the mediocrity of the environment sometimes gets to you. Mm-hmm. And it's like where your personal drive and motivation, like you have to hone that and know that like it's always there and not allow yourself, because that could be a trap.
Yeah. Oh God.
That could be a trap mentally.
Oh, yeah.
And it could just steer you in another direction if you let it. but you always have to put that calling like in the front, you know. And so we talk about that moment a lot.
Yeah. When you are in this position, like I was in Best Buy.
Yeah.
Or if you're in a city where you feel that the city doesn't meet your needs, or you're in an environment where you feel the environment doesn't feed your desire for growth,
Right.
you have to hold on to a vision.
Yeah.
And while I was cleaning TVs and saying, yes, this TV here is one of the best TVs and all that. By the way, I'm very thankful because I was able to meet people.
Right.
But you have to like maintain that vision, as I said. And for me, I would just dream. I could close my eyes and I could see myself, presenting in front of people, and I wouldn't let it go.
Right.
So that's the thing. I was like, it's only a matter of time. And
Right. You knew it. You saw it. You were just like, I know it's coming.
Yeah.
You had a knowing.
Well, but just to be honest with you, and I just want to be honest with anyone listening, you can know it's coming in your heart. That doesn't mean it's going to come.
Right.
And in LA, there are millions of people who believe and know it's coming.
Yeah.
And I've been there. I talk to, and this is the depressing part, I'll speak to people who are like 67 years old, 60 or 70 years old, or even older. And they'll be at auditions and they'd say, oh man, once back in 1982, I got a role on a TV show.
Right.
That was my only thing I got. But I tell you, the big one's coming. It's on the way.
Right.
And I thought to myself, it's been about 40 plus years. If you haven't seen anything by now, you're going to need to pivot, brother.
Right.
I didn't say that. But
Right.
So just because you know it's coming, I don't want to mislead people to believe that if you believe within all your heart and you hold on to it with all your heart,
Yeah.
patience and it'll come. No, it's not true. It's just not. Sometimes, an assessment of where you are.
Practicality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been, you've been at this for 15, 20 years in entertainment, and you haven't even gotten an audition.
Right.
Maybe if we're listening to God, maybe that's not for you. But I was the star of the play in high school. Maybe, possibly. But is there another avenue? I'm not saying you have to run far away from it.
Right.
Is there a way that you can stay close to your dream, but then find another route? So, for example, if you want to pursue TV, maybe you can work at a news station.
Right.
Or maybe you can work as a high school teacher, teach production. But it's not the same. I'm not the star. Well, you know what? So far, what you've accumulated hasn't grown into anything.
Right.
You're not going to auditions. You're not booking TV shows. And by the way, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm trying to be real, because in LA, there are a lot of people, they weren't doing anything for a long, long, long time.
Right.
And it was like, well, at what point in time do we need to redirect?
Yeah. What would you say? Like, how do you know when it's time to redirect?
Well,
And did you redirect? You didn't redirect.
Eventually I did. While at Best Buy, cleaning TVs, wax on. Trying to maintain the vision, trying to keep myself motivated and inspired. Maybe about a year since I've been on any TV.
Right.
And knowing that I'm not making any money. And one day, I was sent to the washer and dryer department. It's like all appliances. I worked in TV, but I was sent to the appliances because someone was absent that day. I was like, I don't know anything about a washer. They said, I'll just stand there and just make people feel like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I was over there in appliances, and then I went and got my cell phone out because someone was calling me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't supposed to be on my phone.
Yeah.
You know how you sneak. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. So then I saw it was my agent, and my agent was like, Nate, you remember that show you auditioned for? I was like, no, there's been so many, and I haven't gotten anything. And said, well, you auditioned for a show. And I said, okay. And said, it's a travel show. I said, okay. You're going to travel around the world. Really? And it's for a network called Fuse. So it's national. And you go around the world, and you have to be ready to leave in 2 weeks. You'll be in Scotland in 2 weeks. We'll fly you first class in Scotland. I go to Morocco, and then I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Quit that box.
You said, yeah.
Gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a pretty cool experience. And I was able to get a good amount of money. And I stayed in, the finest hotels most times. The finest hotels that the area had to offer. There were many times I didn't know where my wallet was because I didn't take my wallet with me, and the producers paid for everything. So I was pretty comfortable.
That's a dream. You're like the OG influencer.
No, that's the time period I was the most unhappy.
Okay, so talk about it. That's crazy. So
Listen.
you're seeing the world for free.
For free.
You're talking about it. You're having these experiences. Why were you unhappy?
No, it was weird. It's like when you get to the mountaintop, because now I'm like, this is it. Like, I went from being fired, or excuse me, let out of my contract as a user porter, and now within 2 or 3 years, you're I am the host of my own show, and I'm traveling the world. But it was weird because it was like, I think it was the grind that kept me optimistic. Oh, I'm going to get there one day. I'm going to get there. I got to have going. And then when you finally get there, you're like, you look around and you're like, oh, this is it.
Right.
I've heard stories of people who would win the Super Bowl, and then they'd be very disappointed.
Yeah.
Certain athletes who were like, this is it.
Yeah.
So I got to the mountaintop and I said, man, it's not as great. And then I started looking for the things to complain about. I didn't complain to other people, just in my own heart.
Right.
And we would shoot for about 10 hours a day.
Okay.
It was a 30-minute show, and we'd shoot for about 10 hours a day, wake up early in the morning, and then get back late at night, driving all over the place. It was very, very exhausting, and you have to keep that energy up.
Yeah.
And then many times I would just get to the hotel and just plopped out. The hotels, you get used to the hotels, because the 5-star hotel, which is a supreme hotel, most people don't get to stand those.
Yeah.
They're nice when you first see it, like, oh, how this is nice. But then when you stay in multiple 5 stars or even 4 stars, you get used to it. You get used to things.
Yeah.
And so I got used to that. The first class, flying first class. Would you like some champagne? Yeah, sure. Would you like this towel? It's warm. I don't even know what it's for. It's first class. Yeah. But then after a while, you're like, oh, no, thank you. I don't need it. Sorry. Again, because you get used to things. That's why when I was telling you earlier about money doesn't make you happy. Yeah, the car, you'll get a fancy car, but then you get used to it. You get a fancy house, you get used to it. You adjust. We're humans. We adjust.
Right.
So during that time period in my life, I had to check myself.
You were in your 20s.
I was 26.
Okay.
That was 2008, so I was 26. I'm 42 now.
Okay.
But I was 26 at the time, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget one moment of complaining that I had where a friend had to just check me. She called me. I was back home in LA, and she called me, and she goes, what's up, Nate? And I was like, what's going on? And she goes, wait a minute. What's the matter? What's wrong?
Yeah.
And I go, I don't know if I should tell you. And she goes, no, we're friends. My friend to hear, by the way. But she said, tell me what's wrong. And I go, well, I got to go to Jamaica next week. What?
Oh, man.
But I had just gotten back from a 3-week tour in Europe. I was exhausted.
Totally.
And she goes, but there's so many people that would love it. You're just being ungrateful. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess so. Like, because I was tired, but I wasn't appreciating the moment. So so with success and entertainment, it's an interesting mind game.
Yeah.
Because you have to have a strong enough mind to continue to, to fight through those moments of monotony, to fight through those complacent moments, to fight through those moments where you don't see something happening. Mm-hmm. But then, if you so happen to get to the mountaintop, or at least close, that, I guess, the proverbial success of what people deem success, where you're being recognized by people and you're making money.
Right.
Once you get to that point, you have to have a different mind game where you have to remember to appreciate and remember the journey, and remember that where you are is a blessing. Yeah. Or else you can become unhappy in a different regard.
Right. And I was going to ask you that because, and I didn't want to assume, but like gratitude is such nothing exists without it. And I think that part of the reason like my journey became outwardly successful later is because I was not grateful enough. Like, part of my journey has been learning how to really just like take in moments and have that kind of deep gratitude where I can like be present and appreciate things while I'm in them. And so, I was going to ask about that. Like, do you think that you feeling that way was connected to just not being grateful or appreciative in those moments?
Well, I'll go back to the whole people are people.
Yeah.
Humans are humans. Mm-hmm. we look at our own situation and we always want more. And we always want better. Which isn't wrong with that, I guess.
Yeah.
But you got to keep it into perspective of where you are. But, you know, wanting more and wanting better is not a crime in itself.
Yeah.
But I think that when we aren't happy within our own situation, it's just a reflection of us not being happy with where we are.
Right.
And wanting better. So, by you know, perspective, you got to remember to keep it into perspective.
Right.
And for you, though, going in as a dance person,
Yeah.
I don't even know what I'm going to call you. Who are you?
Let's see. I would say I'm many things. I'm a creative. I'm a creative.
I don't accept that one.
You don't accept it.
What else you got?
I'm a choreographer.
Okay.
A dancer and choreographer. And an artistic director. That's like the official. The official. But like now I feel like I am a creative person. And so I like to do many things.
By the way, my 6-year-old is a creative person. So that doesn't really like, you know, surmise what success is. So yeah,
Totally.
I like the other one, choreographer,
Artistic director, artistic dancer. That's what I am. I'm also an entrepreneur.
Okay, yes.
Obviously. But that's like at the core of me. I'm a choreographer. Yeah.
Okay. So then for you, do you consider yourself successful?
Yes. But my definition of success is very similar to its impact. And I also feel like within that, I used to think of success as being like only work related. But now somewhere in my 30s, I was like, it was during COVID when I just like, you know, my world halted.
Yes.
You know, I was like, success is about balance for me. And it's like, you know, for me, I'm like, I want a successful relationship. I want to be a great mom. I want to be, you know, really great in the classroom with my students. And I want my health to be on point. And
yeah, that's good.
so like, for me, it's just like having this harmony with whatever it is that I'm doing. It doesn't matter like what the level of it is. It's just like, do I feel at ease? Like, do I feel harmonious in all of the things? And do I feel like fulfilled in all these areas? So like success to me has become now at this place in my life, just like really being able to be present in all of the areas that I would like to be present in and like get that exchange.
Okay.
You know?
So let's break this down. You said you feel like you are successful within your business.
Yes.
Dancing. If you are successful within your business, but your relationship, because you also said you want to be successful.
Right. Then I'm not successful. Like, yeah, that.
If you don't have a boyfriend or husband or whoever.
Right.
But yet you have a successful career. Do you consider yourself successful in that regard then? Are you like, yeah, I'm successful still?
Yeah. So like, it doesn't mean that I have to have a partner, but it's like, if I'm going to like, or that would be my relationship with myself. Like, am I happy as a person without all these other things? Or if I'm going to invest my time in a relationship, like, am I able to really do that? Like, is that something that's working for me? Am I able to be present with it? Or, you know, as a parent, like, am I allowing myself enough time to understand and know my kids and give them what they need? And like, am I spending enough time with my body and like keeping myself in shape and keeping myself healthy? So it's like, whatever choices, whatever things I choose to have in life, it's not if I have a boyfriend or if I have this or if I don't have that. It's like, am I engaging with the choices I'm making every day?
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So then do you think that men and women define success differently based off different measurements, such as career or relationship?
I think that's what society tells us to do. I mean, because traditionally, I mean, it's like men out there working and that's how they define their success. And I like that too. Like, I mean, the success of a business, it is success. It's great. And then women are like down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now it's different. I mean, I'm a female that does all the things. You know what I mean? And so for me, I like to have that flow of like the balance. But I'm not a man, so I don't know. But I think that society defines it very differently for men and women.
Well, it's interesting because I met women who in a career were very successful. Like, you look at them like, look at your title. You're a director of this, or, you know, you're making 6 figures in here. And then they will go, yeah, but I'm not married. So it's like they almost see themselves as a disappointment. And then I've also met men who they don't have a successful career, but man, they are an awesome dad and an awesome husband, and they are they then respond by saying, yeah, but I don't have a cool job.
Right.
I'm like, but you're still successful.
Yeah.
But they don't see it because they have different ideals of what success is. So that's why I asked you, what's success for you?
Right. And I feel like I was that way for a long time. We get very tied to like your outward identity. I'm a choreographer and I'm a business owner. I'm like, this is where my success lies. And that's where I had to check myself. So I'm like, no, I'm also a successful parent. I'm also a really good partner. I'm also good at cooking. Like whatever it is, like, you know what I'm saying?
Really?
Like, no. I don't know. I don't know. It's a 10. But like, you know what I'm saying? Like just finding success in multiple areas of life. It's not, for me, it's not just one thing. Not that I'm like completely a wreck if one thing is out of balance, but it's like having the awareness that I'm not defined by what other people might define my success as.
You know, I got to be honest with you. If just full transparency, if I am married, I've been married 13 years now.
Damn.
13. Yeah, and I'm happily married.
Yes.
So I have 2 kids, and I love them both. I love my wife. We all hang out. We have fun. We laugh together. We all wrestle. We have WrestleMania days, midnights, all that. So it's a joy-filled household.
Right.
But if I didn't have a successful career, I would not consider myself a success.
Right.
And no matter how many people would say, oh, but your family is amazing, so beautiful, wonderful, I would say thank you.
Right.
But on the inside, in my own heart, if I didn't have a career, I would consider myself a failure. You know what? Actually, going back to LA, when there was nothing happening for me, because I got married. So a lot of that was happening from 2006 to 2009.
Uh-huh.
And when I got married in 2009, the hosting reporting industry kind of took a flop.
Right.
And I wasn't doing much for a little bit. And
you were in LA still.
yeah, and I was in LA. And my wife, she's very successful now, but she was clearly on the trajectory to become very successful. She worked at UCLA. And with my personality, you know, we would go to these parties and it'd be like my wife's work parties or something like that. All the people from UCLA. And we go to these parties and I start talking. And then, you know, crowds of her coworkers are just smiling like, man, you are a hoot. You are delightful. All right. And this would happen all the time. They would say, wow, Nate, man, you have a beautiful wife and you have such a personality. What do you do?
Right.
And I would say, because by this point, I had switched to become a server at a restaurant.
So this is after the travel, like this is after the Jamaica incident. Did you quit?
Oh, sorry. Let me go back. So I finished the whole season.
Yeah.
And then the recession happened. And then everything kind of fell apart.
Yeah. Okay.
So then I didn't have a job for a year, but I saved very well. So I was able to work an entire year without having a job.
Right.
I was looking for a job, but there weren't many jobs.
Yeah.
But switched to become a server. Remember, sometimes you got to sacrifice a little bit.
Yeah. Take a step back to take steps forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I knew I needed to make more money. That's why, it wasn't hitting hard enough.
Yeah.
So I had to, become a server, and I fell into that cliche, stereotypical role as a server. That's how I made my money. I was there a lot.
Yeah.
And going back to my wife's work parties at UCLA, these coworkers who were enamored with my presence, so to say, with the biggest smile and most inquisitive face, they would say, well, what do you do? And I would be honest with them, and I'd say, well, I'm a server at a restaurant.
Yeah.
And every time I would see their face go like this, they'd be like, oh, okay. But it was like instantaneous disappointment.
Right.
And it was very, very difficult to see that look on people's faces. And when we go back to, your drive, your vision, your sacrifice, again, sometimes you have to withstand that type of, treatment. And granted, they didn't do it on purpose.
Right.
But it was just a shock that I was living below the potential of what they saw. My wife's coworkers, they would see that I wasn't up to anything career-wise.
Right.
And my family, this was before the kids came, my family was great. I was excellent with my family.
Right.
But I didn't have a career, and it made me feel like such a failure.
Totally.
So that's why I asked you, I said, well, what do you define as success?
Right.
And would you still see yourself successful if you don't have a good relationship, but you have a career?
Yeah. And when you say it like that, I mean, it's hard. there was a time in my life where I did have to give up dance.
Oh, really?
And I felt it sucked.
Why'd you have to give up dance?
Because of the partner I was with.
Oh.
Yeah.
He didn't want a woman dancing?
You know, yeah, it wasn't like not a thing. I felt less than, you know, personally. Was I still successful? Yeah, because I was, at that point, I was just a mom. I was like stay-at-home mom in it. But I'm a person that definitely has to work. Like, I love to be out in front with people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and so, thank you. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that part of me exists as well. You know, I'm human also.
Yeah.
I just know that, like, I definitely had this moment during COVID where I had a complete freaking breakdown. And I was like, and I was all work. And then when I didn't have that, I was like, well, where are my friends? Where's my, you know what I'm saying? Because I put all my energy there. And I definitely made a transition, like, mentality-wise, to be like, yo, this isn't the only thing that defines you, and it's not the only thing you should pay attention to.
Did you hear the thing that Trevor Noah, it was on one of his interviews or one of his stand-up comedy, I can't remember, but he was talking about identity. And Trevor Noah said that it's interesting in America when you come here, you say, well, you know, we always ask your name first. Hey, how are you? Okay, so what do you do?
Right.
And then what do you do, doctor, lawyer, whoever, that defines your identity. Yeah. And he said that in South Africa, when you say, what do you do? They don't know how to answer the question according to American standards. They say, well, I like to, play basketball. I like to, hang out with my family. But we don't put our career as our identity, is what he was saying over there in South Africa. Yeah. So I found that amazing because we identify with our career.
100%.
And if you say, for example, if I were to throw out careers to you right now, and say, okay, I have a potential boyfriend for it. Wait, are you married or
no? I'm not married.
Do you have a boyfriend?
Yes.
Okay, my bad, but this is just hypothetical. Okay, but he said you better not have a boyfriend. but if I were to say, okay, so I have a list of men for you, right? Right. We have this guy, Bob. Bob is a lawyer, right? And he's kind. Okay, cool. We have over here Stefan, and Stefan is a janitor. And he's also cool. And then we also have Rob Linke. And Rob Linke, he is a bus driver. Naturally, I feel like, of course we'll ask the question, well, are they kind? Will they take care of me? Right. And all that. But I feel like it still goes to the career. Yeah. Here, bus driver, janitor, and then lawyer. I want the lawyer because career-wise, that looks better on paper. And that fits the identity I want to connect with. Right. Little do you know that the lawyer, he's going to be gone all the time. Right. So he's not going to be hanging out with you for the most part because he's working so much. Right. But yet we chose a lawyer because our society tells us that is the identity that we should look for connecting with.
Right. And let's circle that back. What if you were one of the boyfriends at one of the time and you were working at Best Buy and you were on the list? You know what I'm saying?
Wait, I was the boyfriend. My wife knew me when I worked.
But on this point, like, you don't know. Yeah, so just by somebody's job title, what is in their heart, what's in their mind, what they're going for. You know what I mean? The lawyer could be an alcoholic or just like, that could be it. They might not have like any depth. No. Any drive. You don't know. I mean, obviously they got there, but like the Best Buy worker could be like, you know what I'm saying? So it is kind of wild that we define people by their job. Yeah. Their success by their job because you just don't know. Yeah. On the outward, on the paper, you don't know.
Yeah. It's like you got to ask, you have to ask more questions. And success is just one of those things where it's like, I feel like I'm at the point now where it's like I am currently struggling with trying not to connect what I do with who I am as a person. When I heard Trevor Noah say that kind of woke me up, and it's like I'm trying to separate what I do. It's when you are in the spotlight, so to say, people see you. Yeah. And Jay-Z has said in one interview, he said success is like cocaine or something. It's a heck of a drug. Like like fame is like cocaine or something. Like it's a heck of a drug, and you get addicted to fame or this attention, and it'd be no different than getting likes or something like that. You want more likes, or you want more people to like you, so to say. And I try not to get into that type of a mindset. I try to ignore it. I try not to walk around thinking, by the way, do you know what I do? Do you
Right.
know what? Because
You're super humble. I would have never known. I was just like bothering you backstage. That's still not. And you were like, oh, it's no. I had to Google you. Like you didn't tell me. You know what I mean? Like you're very great at that.
well, thank you.
You're not out here like Nate Jackson. You better recognize, like like.
No, well, it's just like it's what I do, but it's not who I am. There's so many more, and you were alluding to this earlier. There's so many more components to me,
Right.
More than just entertainment, and I love doing entertainment.
And you're a teacher now.
And I'm a teacher.
Yeah, you're a high school teacher. I don't know what you teach.
History.
You teach history.
I teach American Studies,
Wow.
World Studies, and Black Studies.
And so just to like pull it around, like, so from when you went to LA and had that moment and, you're talking about being defined and people looking at you a type of way, like what brought you back here? What got you into teaching? And in that environment, like, is there a blend? Like, does that life experience go into your teaching? How are you growing now?
It goes to as I said, in LA, the hosting world, the reporting world had kind of fallen because of the Great Recession. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't getting much gigs.
Right.
I got some radio gigs and that was cool, but it was short lived. And then one day, and let's go way back to earlier as far as divine providence.
Yeah.
The Lord stepping in.
Mm-hmm.
One day I got a random email from Coach Corey Close. She is the UCLA women's basketball coach.
Uh-huh.
And I never met her, but we have mutual friends. And she said, hey, Nate, would you like to do this thing? It's called an Emcee.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what's that? She said, well, you'll hype up the crowd. You'll do fun game in front of the crowd. And, it's not national TV, but it's something.
Right.
And I said, sure, why not? Because I knew I wasn't doing anything, and I thought it could be an opportunity. And that's something that you cannot pass on. Like, you may have a vision of where you want to go. A man's heart plans his path, but it's the Lord that directs steps. Mm-hmm. But you don't miss the opportunities that can come your way. Just because it doesn't fit where you want to go.
Yeah.
An opportunity, my father-in-law said, you got to have sometimes he said we look at 2020 as being hindsight.
Right.
After it happens, now we understand why it happened.
Right.
But he said you also need to look for foresight. You need to look for ways that you can anticipate things happening.
I always say, hold the vision, trust the process.
Hold the vision, trust the process.
Because you just don't know. But you have the vision, okay, but like, you don't really have a lot of control over the process. Like, you think you do. You just got to take one step every day or whatever, But yeah.
You are preaching.
Keep it on.
But yeah, so I started doing this MC thing for UCLA and I'd hype up the crowd and I was doing very well at it. But eventually LA got so expensive and I finally had to hang up the entertainment boots, so to say, and because it was just too expensive and it didn't make sense. My wife and I, we had 2 kids by now.
In LA.
Yeah. One was 4, one was a baby, and it just financially didn't make sense because I was working my MC job and then 2 other regular jobs, and it just wasn't worth it.
Right.
So we moved back to Oregon. We planned it. Gotta have a plan.
Gotta have a plan.
And we moved back to Oregon, and when I got to Oregon, it was kind of sad because, my entertainment career, so to say, it was officially closed. And, remember when I said just because you don't get exactly to the title or to the position you want to get to doesn't mean you have to quit necessarily. You might have to just stay close to it, find what avenue that's around the same realm, so to say. And I went to a women's basketball game when I got to Oregon, and it was a packed house, and that stadium at Matthew Knight Arena sits like 12,300, it's easy for people, something like that.
Yeah.
And when I got there, I was surprised because this was a packed that Sabrina Ionescu and like all these star players, and it was packed, not one seat available, and they were playing bingo. That was it. They were just playing bingo,
right,
for their entertainment. I said, well, that's special. So I was glad to be in the stadium, but I contacted a friend, a friend who knew the coach. And by the way, networking is huge. Do not burn bridges because you never know when you're going to have to cross, and be kind everyone you come across. And I think that goes into what you were saying as far as me being humble.
Yeah.
I don't know like how you and I are going to work together again.
Right.
Why would I be mean to you? Maybe you're in a lower position at the time.
Right.
That doesn't mean, that doesn't mean that you will rise up higher than me. And remember, little old me. Oh, no. Be kind to everyone. For
everybody.
You should just be kind anyway. So this friend, networking, being kind to people, connecting with people, maintaining those contacts is what you have to do. But this friend was like, oh, I actually know the coach. I could introduce you to him.
Yeah.
And I said, I would love to, because I want to pitch him an idea about being an MC. For the women's basketball team, because bingo, I'm telling you, if you saw what I did for UCLA, that bingo thing, I'll blow that, and I'll blow that out the water.
Right.
And I tried to pitch it to, the team at the time, the directors at the time, and they said, no, we're not interested. They said we had an MC years before, and he didn't work, and we already know this won't work.
Right.
And I wanted to say without saying it, but I was like, but he's not me.
Right.
There's that belief in myself.
Right.
And then, so they said no. And sometimes you got to be okay with the no and then find another way to go around the no.
Yes.
So they said no. So then the next year, that's when I contacted a friend, and she knew the coach, and she put me in contact with him. And I was just getting ready. Like I was blessed enough to be able to, get his phone number, and I was going to, pitch it to him. And I was ready. I was ready to do it. And I said, okay, it's Coach Kelly Graves.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, Coach Graves, thank you for meeting with me. And, just listen, I had this idea. I went to a game. There wasn't a lot of people, and I wanted to do MC work. And I did it for UCLA, and he stopped me. And again, I had a pitch. I was ready.
Yeah.
Whoa. Another point, you got to be ready.
Yeah.
Be prepared.
Always be prepared.
Be prepared.
Yeah.
And I was ready. And then he interrupts me, and he goes, wait, did you say you did it for UCLA? And I said, yes. And he said, when? And I said, just back 2016 to 2018. And he goes, I remember you. And I remember thinking, that guy's amazing. If he ever were to come to Oregon, I'd love to have him. So I didn't have to pitch anymore.
Wow.
Divine Providence.
Oh, my God.
And then he said, why don't you come to the stadium, and then let's go to Starbucks. I'll get you some coffee, and then I'll introduce you to people.
Yeah.
And then he said, you can audition. And then my first game to audition was Oregon women's basketball versus the USA team. That's a massive audition.
Yeah.
You talking about packed house? Oh no, this was as packed as it could get. Today I'm only type deal.
Yeah.
And I did really well, and I killed it. And they say you're it. And then I did it for the season, and I did it for I think 1 or 2 seasons. Then COVID came. And then that kind of ruined things, and then things kind of fell apart. And then football, now football has to do with MC thing. And I would like to say I feel like I inspired that, because there was no MC for football.
There wasn't,
ever. And then after the success of the women's basketball, then then spawned the MC role for football, and then I was able to do it for football, and I think that sits around 60,000, just under 60,000, and that right there, when I said earlier, don't be afraid of the crowd. Like, don't focus on the crowd. You got to focus on your abilities. And I stood there in front of 60,000 people. I didn't say to myself, this is so many people.
Yeah.
The stadium looks small to me in my mind.
Yeah.
Because I was so focused on what I can do.
Right.
And I zoned out, blacked out again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that was super successful.
Right.
And then that led to the men's basketball. So that's how I started emceeing here in Eugene. But when we're talking about identity, it's like you don't have to be just one or two things. Mm-hmm. So the other thing, divine providence again, I'm doing this MC thing. But before the MC thing took off, before it took off, in that first year where there was nothing happening, for when they said no to the MC role,
right?
I got a random Facebook message, from a guy that I knew in college, and he messaged me random. Never talked to him on Facebook ever. And Dan Hedberg, and he said, "Nate, I'm going to be a principal next year at Willamette High School, and I was curious to see if you would be interested in a teaching job. I heard that you had done substitute teaching." Oh, that was one of my random jobs in LA.
Okay.
Server and a substitute. And he said, "I heard you had done substitute teaching, and I'm looking for a full-time teacher." And
what the heck? Wow.
Random email or random message.
Yeah.
I took that opportunity. But I said, I don't have a teaching background. I have a journalism. And he says, don't worry, we'll figure that part out later. I had to go back and get my master's and all. So I'm a master, by the way. I'm a master.
Master. It's a big deal.
But yeah, so then I got into teaching, and then right after that, the next year, got into emceeing, and I'm still teaching. I'm in year 6, and I teach American Studies, World Studies, and Black Studies, and I created the Black Studies program. And then I am also the one of 3 BSU advisors, and I raised some money to get us all to Washington, D.C. By the way,
what were you at the airport? I was like, where are you going? Oh, I'm children.
Yeah. It was like 6 a.m. or something like that. And then Vanessa, well, wearing sweats. I was like, that's But that trip, when you saw us in the airport, with the students, that was money that I raised to get my students to Washington, D.C., because here in Eugene, the population or the percentage of Black people is 2% and under, so like 1.8, depending on the year. And the goal is I want my Black students, or those who are in the BSU, the Black Student Union, I want them to see what successful Black people look like. That's not to say that there are successful Black people here, but in DC you'll see the lawyer, you'll see the judge, you'll see a very, very high level successful people in suits, and I want that to impact my students' identity.
Man, I just went to a festival called VCon.
Nerd sounds nerdy.
Yeah, it's like business marketing, all of this content. It's good. That's cool. But I saw Will.i.am talk. And he was talking about, I don't know all the things he did, but he's a big tech guy. And he was talking about how he's bringing technology into the schools until the LA Unified School District through a Black lens in a way where he gives students the opportunity to create apps and things like that, gives them computers and the ability to be in the tech world. Like, he just created a whole new AI app.
Wow.
I didn't know that he was one of the original investors of Twitter and like also Tesla and stuff like that. But I was just sitting there, this was like 2 months ago, as a female that like maybe did that type of success in Eugene of Black people is just not really there. Like, and so just for me to like to see him, I was blown away. Wow. Just like, because he was talking about like Siri, like those type of voices. He's like, well, I created an app where the voice is Black and it speaks the same. And just like, great. That type of innovation, and just seeing somebody of that level up close, like I was like, I had tears in my eyes. Like, that's life-changing. And for kids to be able to do that, like, you don't know it's possible. And that's what he was talking about. Like, these kids don't even know that there's a place for them.
That's right. Representation matters.
It does. I feel like it's the number one. People want to throw out all these other words. This is a whole nother conversation time, but the representation piece is everything.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So here I am in 2024. It's been quite the journey. And throughout the journey, a man's heart plans his path, but the Lord directs his steps. And I never planned on emceeing, ever. Didn't even know what it was. Never planned on entertainment. But the Lord had a different plan for me. And as far as being a teacher, I vehemently said no to teaching all through college when people suggested it for me.
Yeah.
But it looks like that's what I'm doing, and it looks like it's part of my purpose, and I love it because I'm able to have an impact in the sports world here in Eugene, and I'm also able to have an impact in students' lives.
Yeah.
And for that, I'd say I'm successful.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I love that. Okay, I just have to have one more question. If you could tell, like, one piece of advice. I mean, if you could sum it up and give one tidbit to someone.
Okay, make a list. If you do not feel like you are successful at the moment, I wish I could give you some inspirational, just go and fight for your dreams and just, you're going to make it. Maybe, maybe not. But what I want you to do is I want you to organize your thoughts. I want you to get out a piece of paper or your phone or email, and I want you to write out what you're good at. The things that you are good at. And then I want you to, in another column, write out what you love to do. So in one column, write what you're good at. Another column, write what you love to do. Write as much as possible. Then in the last column, you can write financially the lowest that you would want to make and the most you would hope to make. All right. Then after that, I want you to research it. I want you to go to Google, and I want you to type in jobs that have this type of characteristic. And you can look at your list and just start typing those things in. And then you might get a list of jobs. And then from there, start narrowing things down. But I think it starts with the list of you organizing your thoughts and figuring out who you are and what you like to do.
Wow.
And then researching that bad boy and seeing how you can make your ideas come into a pragmatic, practical effect.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow, I'm going to do that.
I know. I mean, girl, you might as well.
Thank you so much for being.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah. If people want to find out more about you, what can they do? Are you on social?
Yes. So I'm on Instagram at Nate Jackson.
Okay.
But yeah, I got Nate Jackson. There's not Nate Jackson 1, it's at Nate Jackson.
Yeah.
And you can also check out my website at natejacksonpresents.com.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you, Nate.
Hey, I made it here.
Woo! Yes. Dang.